So we've had a bit of trouble with these runners not engaging with the soft close, and I've taken the drawer box off just to show the problem. It's not bringing the soft close mechanism right up to where it stays in the waiting position, like there. It should stay there so that then it will catch and soft close on the way back. But because it doesn't stay there, it's not soft closing because it's just hitting up against it, and then it needs some force to push it in. For comparison, I've just swapped out these runners, these Accuride runners, where the soft close mechanism wasn't engaging properly. I've replaced them with some Hettich ones, which by sheer luck I've had knocking about for ages. Don't even remember what job I got them for. They don't have soft close, so they just have to push back, and there's a little sort of softish engagement there, which seems to be purely a result of the shape of that piece of metal at the end engaging over this rubber thing here. So I suppose it's sort of a soft close in that it doesn't clunk close, but it needs a little push just to get it flush at the front. Something else to comment about these types of runners is that if you fix them to the carcass using the furthest fixing in these little flaps, the purpose of them is to give you a little bit of play. So if you leave slightly too much of a gap between your drawer box and your outer drawer case, then there's a bit of flex, a bit of play where that could take up the slack. This one is the part that fits to the side, with the part that fits to the drawer box removed. This one has the part that fits to the drawer box engaged in it. So I'll show you how that disengages. You get to this point and you see a clip, and it has an arrow that helps you see which way to go to disengage it. So doing that just unclips it. You can imagine there's a piece of metal that top bit engages into, so that is unclipped, and that will just release now. Now they're not handed, so the left and the right are the same, which just means that you'd be pushing this, it'd feel like you're pushing it in the other direction when it's engaged in there. So I'm going to screw this piece onto the side of the drawer box. Now that's already been lined up and screwed for the other runner by Brady, the runner that we're ditching because the soft close isn't working. It does seem like there's a standard in that between these different manufacturers there's certain holes that do line up in the right place. Now adjustment with these runners is done by first putting your screw in a hole where you know you could slightly slip it up and down if you needed to adjust, and then you can lock it off with the holes that don't have any movement. So it's nothing like the Movento adjustment, which you can continue to adjust after it's all in place. It's a bit more fiddly if you do need to make any changes to sort of get in there and move things on those slotted screw holes. This has been running okay in terms of the lineup. It's been running okay with the other runner, so I'm going to just go ahead and fit it on those existing holes. So you just offer them up to engage them, and that bit of rubber there helps it go in, and that's just at the point there where that's just clicked in, so it will stay engaged. We've actually fitted a 750mm long drawer box on 700mm full extension runners. It's just worth noting that you can kind of squeeze out a bit more length from runners like this, because the full extension throws it beyond perhaps where it needs to. So if that was a if that was a 700mm drawer box to match the runner, the back of it would have come out as far as about this. Well, that's that upper box just placed in position, propped with some sustainers, which are roughly the right height. What I want to do is bring it up tight to there. So I've decided to fit the top one first because I want it to brace this slightly broken step, because there are loose bits under there. So I can get some screws up to hold that all together and have that tight. And I can prop that at the back, but it will be held by the screws at the front because this nosing piece is strong enough. And although it's actually backwards to the way I thought I would do it, it makes sense then for me to push the second one, the lower one, up to that with whatever packers are needed. And the 18mm top of this box, which I made 18mm for strength because I knew I might want to use it to support the step, that does just set the top of the drawer space below the thickness of the carpet, so you won't have things catching on that carpet edge as they pull out. I mean, looking at it now, I probably could have made the drawers a little bit deeper, but I was erring on the side of caution just to make sure that everything fitted in. Well, that's screwed up and just propped at the back for now. It's following a slight slope that is on the steps, and I think it's best we just go with that because it's going to look best for everything to be parallel to the steps. But I'm going to just test fit the drawer before committing to that position. So I've put a filler strip in place under there, just screwed through. That was a bit tricky to get in because I had to hold it with one hand round here while screwing it with the right angle attachment with my left hand. I'm now getting a spacer. It just so happens that the 63mm of the CLS is just about the right spacing between the base of this drawer box carcass and the base of that step, which is what we're going to screw the top of the next carcass up to. So I've wedged, just with a temporary brace post there, I've wedged that piece of CLS in. I'll do the same along this side. And then I'll just get some screws down here as well to hold that up. This angled chuck on this Festool drill, it might seem like an expensive luxury, but it gets used on almost every job. And the ability to put it at an angle that's not even 90 degrees, because you can, if you undo that collar, you can click it to lots of stepped locations and then lock it back in. That is a lifesaver. So here, I really could not have got these screws in at the angle I needed to without this attachment and those adjustments, because at purely 90 degrees, I just couldn't get the angle there without hitting the drawer runner. And I'd rather save the time and not have to take that off. That's the structure all in. The boxes are fitted. I've also strengthened the steps because they're going to become enclosed when I put the next bit of fitted furniture in. So I've taken the opportunity just to brace things, wedging, screwing, making sure the weight is ultimately transferred down to the concrete floor there. And so these drawer boxes have legs that support the backs at both corners, and there are supports at the fronts there as well, which are tightly packed, glued and screwed. I might not have put the screws in those yet, but I'll do that next. fitting this flush pull, and I've gone for using a good sharp Forstner bit and then chiseling the squarer parts out with a chisel. And I've decided to sit it on the face, just letting the deeper parts go in, because I don't think I'd ever get a tidier finish than that, and I just don't really think it's necessary to bring it totally flush. So I've lined that up just by eye really, secured it to the drawer box with some 17mm screws, and that should be enough grab that I can pull it out. I want to check then that it's not glancing the carpet too much. I think we're okay. Carpet does drop down a bit there, so it's tight to there at the top, but it will easily open. So yeah, I think we're good. So then with the drawer open, I'm going to fix the drawer box to the front using Craig screws. Now we've got 32mm screws, 15mm drawer box and 18mm frontage, so it's dangerously close to coming through. So what you can either do is put some washers under the head, or just to get moving a bit faster, if you angle it, it won't quite go through. These screws are definitely going to test my patience. I'll definitely be pilot holding them, and I'll just have to take care with a flathead screwdriver. Not sure if I've even got one slim enough. They're very, very small. That's a 2mm drill bit, which is a bit slimmer than the screws, so the thread should still get a bit of grab. It's close, but we'll try it on one. Let's see how we get on. I've got that in, and I've secured it to the plinth with some screws that won't be seen. The front of the plinth in turn is secured to the frame, and then it's just sat on packers and adjustable feet at the back. The resistance of the whole unit to tipping as the heavy pullouts come out is going to rely on it being fixed again into the frame, because I haven't fixed it at the back. There's quite a lot of space around it at the back. I mean, I could possibly fix through to the wall, which is quite close to, but I'd need to get some packers in really, which I can't do. So when you're doing something like this, you risk it disappearing. So what I like to do is, once it's in a position like that, I'll find the flush point or the crossing point. I'll drive a nail gun nail in there, and then I can rotate it around that, so I can push that in and it will push that out, and then I know I'm not going to lose the piece. These are the longest Blum Movento runners available at 750mm. If you want to know more about them, see the video that I'll be linking to at the top of the screen now, where I talk about the adjustment available on them and the way that it connects to the drawer box. getting to the finishing touches now, and this is where you can do a little bit of cheating just to make things that little bit better on the finish. So I'm not too happy about the setback here. The drawer front is maybe 3mm back from the framing filler piece. It's not so bad on that one. So what I'm going to do is put some of these buffers, which set the frontage forward about 3mm. Just put them on there where they'll touch that bit of frame, and then that should be enough just to send it flush. It's all finished, the customer's very happy with it. I thought I'd show you some dimensions and talk through what I would do the same and what I'd do different next time. Because the way I see it, the purpose of this channel is, if you're another maker, I'm giving you the opportunity to go through the whole process of a make and think through the issues that you might have. So when you do it first time, you've already seen me make mistakes or learned from the things I've done right. So starting with dimensions on the stairs here. Now of course stairs can vary, but what we've got here is a height, like a riser height of, well, around about 21-22 centimeters, and I've been able to fit a drawer frontage of 15 centimeters in that, allowing for the carpet. You could definitely get a taller one in if there wasn't carpet. You may have noticed the way I built the drawers is different to normal, so I've done it all in 15mm birch ply, and the base just sits under the sides because I wanted to maximise the height by using those side mounted ball bearing runners instead of the undermount Movento runners which I normally use. So when we use them, because they're undermounted, you've got a base that sits within a groove and is set up from the sides. Of course you lose some height. So I tried to maximise the height, but the actual usable height that we're left with is, well, it's pretty much, so I'm not showing that, so it's about 10 centimetres. So the internal height of the drawer box is about 9.5, and there's not a lot of clearance to the top. Unfortunately, there's quite a few of their shoes that don't fit, but I had warned them that this might be the case, and they said, well, just make it as big as you can and we'll just fit what we can in. Luckily, these ladies' shoes and slippers do fit nicely, and shoes do always seem like a good use for these kind of drawers. So again, on the sizes, I've put these filler strips at about 40mm, 4 centimeters, and that just ensured that I could leave a bit of material where I cut away the riser to fix to, and it avoided any conflict with where the newel post sticks out, and there's one there that sticks out further. So that was more than enough really, but that's how I did it. And so we've got a drawer width, internal width of, struggling one-handed, but that's about 59 centimeters, and so for reference that does fit 3 shoes abreast, although it might not quite fit 3 large men's shoes. Now regarding these ones, I did use the Movento runners. They're just usually our go-to runner. They work very smoothly and they do have the soft close. Now they're working fine, but I can't help thinking that it feels on the edge of its capacity on this pull-out. So I said to the customer I wouldn't recommend loading that with crockery or anything. And it is making a creaking noise that I just can't seem to find the source of and can't seem to stop. But it's not a big deal, they are functioning. And this method I think works quite well, where you've got very tidy frontage, that's just split in 2. But within that deep drawer, there's another concealed drawer. So breaking up the storage like that just gives you more options for what you put in there. And this one at the bottom has been big enough for the main things that they wanted to put in there. So that, just for reference, is the internal height, about 43 centimetres. About 10 centimetres, more like 8 or 9, about 8 internal. Now all the parts for these, the drawer boxes themselves and the carcasses, they're put together with a mixture of dominoes and conformat screws. So for angles like this, we usually just pre-drill at an angle, just tilting the drill as you go in, and use conformat screws. For the more standard drawers, to save seeing screw heads, that's all dominoed. The frontages are birch ply. This customer just prefers birch ply, so there's no MDF in that. And I would recommend that for the drawer boxes, the outer boxes for the drawers, using birch ply is good. It's more rigid because it does have a supporting roll to the tread there. And I wouldn't recommend making that top of those boxes any less than 18mm. I'd say that's about the minimum, because you do just want to be very careful that you're keeping some structural strength in those treads. If I did it again, I would plan around fitting those boxes tight up to the stair, which puts them just slightly behind and above the line of the folded carpet. And with that in mind, I could have added 1 centimetre or 2 to those drawer boxes. I probably would have had to keep the frontages the same, but there was a bit of space below the drawer box. So I could have made the drawer box higher, and I might possibly then have fitted some other shoes in. So I hope that's all helpful. I look forward to your comments. I think this may be a popular project. It's the sort of thing I know people are quite interested in making. And all I ask of you for the advice in the video is buy me a coffee. You can find a link in the description below, where you can easily do that online using Stripe or PayPal. And do subscribe for videos like this in future. Thanks again for watching.